What's up, guys? It's Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down one thing that wide receivers need to know about route running, and that is running routes off of steps, not yardage. So this is something that you hear a lot of wide receiver coaches teach, a lot of wide receivers say, like, hey, I'm breaking this route off my third inside, my fourth outside. What does that exactly mean? When's the right time to use it, and when is the right time to think about yardage on a route? So that's what we're going to be breaking down today, so I hope this helps you out. But also, fellas, if you're a wide receiver and you want a daily training schedule for a full month to finish off the summer, check out that very first link in the description below for our ultimate wide receiver training schedule. It's over 100 plus exercises in the gym and on-field drills for wide receivers broken down with sets, reps, and examples of each exercise. So check out that very first link below if interested, fellas. Let's get started. So this first route here, so when running routes off of steps, anytime that it is zone or off man coverage, you want to be running your routes off of steps. It is so important that you run your routes off of steps because, one, when you get to that next level, everything is steps based, but also timing is so important with that QB. So this route is going to be off of the fourth inside step. So we're going to count the steps and we're going to kind of walk through why this is important. So you got to be able to know it both ways. You have to be able to know how many steps that a quarterback is expecting you to take, how many steps the offense is expecting you to take, but also how deep those steps will get you on the route. So by inside steps, I mean you see his inside foot. So the ball is to the left. So his left foot would be considered an inside foot, the inside steps. So he's breaking this route off of his fourth inside. So when he comes off the line, you see that's one. That is his first step right there. Then you see he takes his second inside, then he breaks off of the third inside, and then the fourth is when he puts his foot in the ground to drive out of this thing. So this is important, I feel, because we talk a lot about selling vertical, especially when it's against zone, off man. You have to get into that DB's cushion, you have to run hard, and you have to run in full stride. What a lot of wide receivers will do is they'll think of this break as just like a 12-yard out. So what they'll do is they'll run super hard, but as soon as they get to 10 yards, they start to slow down. They start to prepare for the cut because maybe they're not going to break off of the right step, whatever it might be. So they slow down and they stop selling vertical. But when you guys can get comfortable breaking off of a specific step, that will allow you to keep that stride, maintain that stride going all the way up into the break. Now, let's talk about another thing. The reason why we count inside steps. So some of you might be in an offense, and I was in an offense like this as well, where the coach won't say inside steps. He will say like 8 steps total, right? So instead of saying, hey, you're going to break off your fourth inside, he'll say, okay, it's an 8-step out route, or more commonly a 6-step out route. Now, the issue I have with that is a lot of numbers to count in your head while you're running a route. That is a lot of numbers to where you run off the line, you're going 1, 2, 3, 4, and then when you start counting too much, you start overthinking it, you start to slow down. So that's why we go off of the inside steps or the outside steps, because I think 4 is a lot easier to count to than 8, and it gives you a better rhythm. Some guys learn better by counting the full numbers, but I think to be that next level route runner, you have to progress and solely count inside steps or outside steps, okay? So now we're going to play this thing again full speed one more time, and then we're going to talk about how you guys can apply this to where you don't even think about it. So let's play it again. Again, fellas, breaking off of your fourth inside step, third inside step, fourth outside, whatever it might be when it's zone or off man. We're going to talk about in a second here when you want to cut off of yardage after this example. So now, because again, cutting off a yardage is important to a certain extent, and we're going to talk about how you guys can train that. But I want to talk about this example first. So this is an example of Dez Bryant here. So how you can apply this, like this is an inside shade off man coverage. He's running a post route. So when you have that situation, you want to attack his outside shoulder, try to get him to flip his hips, cut on a dime, and slip underneath. So he's running a post, and it's going to be off of his third outside step. So ball is to the left. This is his inside foot. This is his outside foot. So let's play this thing full speed. So that's 1, 2, 3. Breaks right off of the third outside. Now, some of you might be thinking is, Coach, this is way too much to think about during a route. I can't think about this kind of thing during a game. It's a lot easier to just look at a yard marker and just go run the route. Now, if you think that NFL guys are thinking about all this stuff when they're running a route in a live game situation, live practice rep situation, that's not the case. They are not thinking about this stuff. They are playing fast. That is why it is so important to rep this out 1,000,000 times. I guarantee every single one of you that's on a high school team, a youth team, you guys probably have a period in practice where you run routes versus air. Now, instead of just going through the motions, running lazy routes, you should be thinking about this stuff, right? So if I'm running a post and let's say it's like a bang 8 post, I would be breaking off of my third outside every time. Let's say I had like a 15 back to 12 yard comeback, I'd be breaking off of my fourth inside. Now, if you guys have questions about, what this route, I'm not sure what step I should break off of because my coach doesn't tell me, leave those in the comment section below. I'll respond back to you with the inside step or the outside step that I think you guys should break off of. But you guys have to understand when it comes to running routes off of steps, it is a repetition thing. Every single time you are running routes versus air, working zone coverage, everything should be steps based, especially when you're on a field where you don't have lines. Like let's say you're just training at a park. You should not set up a cone and just go break down at the cone. You should be going off of steps even when you're working drill work. Let's play this thing again, full speed one more time. Great example of Des Bryant keeping that stride and breaking right off of the third outside. So now, when do you want to go off of yardage with cuts? Because yardage is still important. I'm not trying to knock yardage. I'm not trying to say you should never use yardage. Personally, when I train my receivers, everything that we do is steps based, even when we're going against press coverage, because I try to build that habit in them of breaking off of steps, right? I want them to get as many reps possible counting steps, and I want them to get better at it. But in an actual game scenario, and usually we will do this when we run full routes. Usually we'll go off of just straight up yardage if we're doing like the full route tree. But if it's a drill, everything's based off of steps because I want it to be in full stride. But when you have a situation like this, fellas, I'm going to play it at full speed where you get a DB who's pressing, you have to get off of press. It is more so about getting to a landmark, right? I talk about this with a lot of college receivers and they ask like, hey, we go off of steps with our routes, but they're always talking about a landmark when it's press coverage. What does that exactly mean? And a landmark is essentially the yardage. So you need to know based on your offense. Like if I'm running, let's say it's like a 10 to 12 yard corner, for example, you're probably breaking, or like 8 to 10, you're probably breaking off your third inside step when it's zone. But if it's man and you get press, you need to know that, okay, that break is probably going to happen at 8 to 10 yards. That is your landmark that you need to get to. Because sometimes if you get press, you might lose the count of your steps. You can't be thinking about too much, especially against press when you're worried about a release. But to build that habit of running off the steps, keeping full stride, that helps you when it's press coverage to actually maintain your speed and maintain your stride when getting to the landmark. So don't confuse this with me saying, hey, it's press, you got to work a release, then get to your third inside, then break it off. Maybe you want to train like that so you understand the basics of it, but when it's man coverage and it is press and he's getting hands, he's getting physical, you're going to lose count of the steps and then you don't want to be screwed. You want to get comfortable breaking at a landmark when it is press coverage. That's why in every single drill that you do, every single type of training that you do, you should be emphasizing running in full stride, cutting on a dime. So when it is the time to get to a landmark, you guys aren't panicking and you guys don't take all these choppy steps because you're worried about breaking at the right spot. We want to be comfortable and we want to build automated habits with my training. Let's play this thing again, full speed one more time. Again, great example of chaos can happen. Press release can happen where you get knocked off your route. You might be thrown off rhythm, but we still have to be able to break at a landmark, not just solely rely on steps, even though that's the bulk of what you want to do. All right, fellas, I really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you guys have any questions at all, don't hesitate to leave those in the comment section below. Always appreciate the feedback. Always great to hear from you guys as usual. And again, fellas, if you would like an 4-week wide receiver training schedule with all the gym exercises and on-field drills you need to do in 4 weeks to help you get ready for this season, check out that very first link in the description below. I'll see you guys next time.